The government is basically that one friend who owes you money but never pays it back. Except this friend is hiding free dental work, free home repairs, and actual cash with your name on it sitting in a database somewhere, hoping you forget it even exists. And it's not just money. There's free passports, free legal help, even free training to land a better job, all just collecting dust while you binge another show. They're betting you're too tired or too lazy to come knocking. Smash that like button like you're slamming the door on a telemarketer, and subscribe so the government doesn't quietly shut this video down. 1. Everybody pictures passport renewal as a soul-crushing wait, where your application sits in a dusty bin while some clerk naps face down on his keyboard. Pure myth and a lazy one. Your congressional rep secretly runs a liaison desk built to bully federal agencies into moving faster. And yes, that is a real job somebody gets paid for. One phone call unleashes a staffer whose entire purpose is professionally annoying bureaucrats until they cooperate. Everyone else weeps into the mailbox void while you glide past them grinning, having paid a glorious $0. 2. Picture the average renter receiving an eviction notice and immediately assuming the next step is living dramatically out of a shopping cart. Adorable myth completely wrong. Legal aid offices deploy free lawyers who march into court like caffeinated pit bulls, smelling landlord fear. These attorneys feast on sloppy paperwork and expose every shady eviction trick your landlord swore nobody would catch. They cost absolutely nothing, which somehow enrages landlords even more. So rather than packing boxes and sobbing, a tenant struts in with a legal shark ready to embarrass somebody in a courtroom. 3. Folks love claiming tax filing must cost a fortune because some greasy preparer convinced America that math is a luxury service. Total myth and an expensive lie. The IRS Direct File System and the VITA program let qualifying people file their taxes for absolutely nothing. No shady upsells included. Trained volunteers handle your forms while charging you the grand total of $0, which terrifies every strip mall tax shop on the planet. So instead of forking over cash to a guy named Chad with a clip-on tie, you keep your refund and laugh all the way home. 4. Everyone assumes a phone bill is a sacred monthly punishment. You simply must endure until death. Cute myth, financially dumb. The Lifeline program quietly hands low-income households free phone service while the big carriers pretend this program does not exist because it bruises their precious profits. Qualifying families get connected without surrendering their entire paycheck to a company that charges money for literally invisible signals. It costs nothing, which feels illegal, but absolutely is not. So while everyone else cries over their bill, smart folks chat away for free and feel zero guilt. 5. People genuinely believe insulating a drafty house requires winning the lottery or marrying rich. Hilarious myth, completely false. The Department of Energy runs weatherization programs that seal, insulate, and upgrade your home for free, basically gift wrapping your house against winter. Government-funded crews show up and plug every sneaky gap, letting your heat escape into the universe. You pay nothing while your energy bills shrink like a cheap shirt in hot water. So instead of wearing 3 coats indoors and questioning your life, your home finally stops leaking money through the walls. 6. Service members swear college credit only comes after years of crushing debt and ramen dinners. Glorious myth, totally bogus. Military bases offer CLEP and DST exam reimbursement, meaning troops can test out of entire courses for free and skip the tuition bloodbath. Pass one exam and watch real college credit appear without a single loan shark sniffing around. It costs nothing, which makes civilian students weep into their textbooks. So rather than financing a degree until retirement, a sharp service member knocks out classes by simply outsmarting the system one free test at a time. 7. Aspiring entrepreneurs assume business advice only comes from overpriced gurus selling courses from rented Lamborghinis. Ridiculous myth, beautifully wrong. The SBA and SCORE provide free counseling and mentoring from actual seasoned professionals who built real companies, not Instagram fantasies. These mentors guide your wobbly startup dreams without charging a dime or demanding you join their cult. You get genuine expertise for $0 while the fake gurus sob over their lease payments. So instead of buying a $49 PDF from a stranger, you score legit advice and keep your money for the actual business. 8. Drowning in debt. Most people assume help requires paying someone, which feels like a cruel joke. Solid myth, refreshingly false. SEC-affiliated nonprofits offer free credit counseling from experts who untangle your financial disaster without judging your questionable past decisions. These counselors build payoff plans and negotiate with creditors while charging you absolutely nothing. It feels suspicious because helpful and free rarely share a sentence, yet here we are. So rather than paying a sketchy debt relief company that smells like a scam, you fix your finances with real guidance and keep whatever dollars you have left. 9. Veterans often assume hearing aids cost roughly the same as a used car, so they just nod and smile confused. Sad myth, totally inaccurate. The VA provides free hearing aids and exams for eligible veterans, meaning no one has to pretend they heard the question for the rest of their life. Trained specialists test, fit, and supply the devices without sending a terrifying bill afterward. It costs nothing, which honestly should be the standard everywhere. So instead of guessing what grandkids are saying across the dinner table, a veteran actually hears the punchline and laughs first. 10. Plenty of folks believe therapy is strictly for rich people with fancy couches and unlimited disposable income. Outdated myth, completely busted. Some SAH-funded community clinics offer free mental health therapy from licensed professionals who genuinely want to help, not empty your wallet. You talk through your chaos with someone qualified while paying the magnificent sum of $0. It feels too good to be real, yet the program quietly exists for anyone who needs it. So rather than venting to a disinterested houseplant at midnight, a struggling person gets actual support without going broke. 11. Most people assume learning a trade requires drowning in student loans and crying over a useless degree. Backwards myth, gloriously false. The Department of Labor runs registered apprenticeship programs that place you in real jobs where you actually earn money while learning, like a magical reverse college. You gain skills, collect a paycheck, and dodge the entire debt swamp everyone else is sinking in. It costs nothing to enroll, which feels like cheating but absolutely is not. So instead of paying schools to lecture you, somebody pays you to learn a profession. 12. Parents everywhere assume free school meals require mountains of paperwork and a humiliating application ritual. Outdated myth, beautifully wrong. Certain qualifying schools feed every single kid for free, with 0 forms, 0 questions, and 0 judgmental glances. The whole cafeteria eats without anyone tracking who can or cannot pay, which quietly removes a ton of childhood shame. It costs families absolutely nothing, which terrifies nobody except maybe overpriced lunchbox companies. So rather than packing soggy sandwiches at dawn, parents send kids off knowing breakfast and lunch arrive automatically and gloriously free. 13. Homeowners genuinely believe finding energy leaks requires expensive wizards with mysterious heat vision gadgets. Silly myth, totally busted. Utility-partnered government programs offer free home energy audits where experts hunt down every sneaky draft secretly inflating your bills. They inspect, measure, and expose exactly where your money escapes into the cold, uncaring sky. You pay nothing while learning why your house drinks electricity like a thirsty camel. So instead of guessing why your bill looks like a phone number, a homeowner gets a professional breakdown for free and finally fights back against their own leaky walls. 14. Outdoor lovers assume national parks always demand entry fees, so they reluctantly hand over cash every visit. Wasteful myth, happily false. The government offers multiple free entry days throughout the year, where everyone strolls into stunning parks, paying absolutely nothing. Waterfalls. Mountains and dramatic scenic overlooks become completely free on these magical dates. It costs $0 to soak in nature that normally charges admission, which feels like a glitch in the system. So rather than skipping a trip over a fee, a savvy family plans around these days and explores America without spending a single dollar. 15. Volunteers often assume background checks cost money, so they grumble before doing something genuinely kind. Annoying myth, refreshingly wrong. Some agencies provide free fingerprinting and background checks specifically for volunteer work, removing the weird fee that punishes generosity. You get cleared to help kids, animals, or community programs without paying for the privilege of being a decent human. It costs nothing, which honestly should always be the case. So instead of paying a fee just to donate your own time, a willing volunteer gets verified for free and skips straight to the good part. 16. Gardeners assume seeds cost a fortune, and only fancy catalogs sell the good ones. Dramatic myth, totally false. USDA cooperative extension programs hand out free farm and garden seeds, basically gifting you the start of your own vegetable empire. Experts even teach you how to grow the things without murdering every plant you touch. It costs nothing, which infuriates overpriced garden centers selling tiny packets like luxury goods. So rather than dropping cash on seeds the size of dust specks, a hopeful gardener scores free ones and grows tomatoes that taste smug about being homegrown. 17. People assume vaccines and flu shots require fancy insurance and a terrifying bill afterward. Tired myth. Completely busted. Federally funded health centers provide free flu shots and vaccines, jabbing you toward better health without jabbing your bank account. Trained staff handle everything while charging the spectacular amount of $0. It feels suspicious because needles and free rarely coexist peacefully, yet here the program proudly stands. So instead of skipping protection over cost, somebody walks in, gets the shot, eats the complimentary sticker glory, and leaves healthier without spending a dime they did not have. 18. New parents assume baby formula and groceries will personally bankrupt them within the first chaotic month. Brutal myth, thankfully false. The WIC program supplies free formula, groceries, and nutrition support so tiny humans eat well without their exhausted parents selling a kidney. Qualifying families get real food assistance during the most expensive sleep-deprived chapter of life. It costs nothing, which feels like a small miracle around 3 a.m. So rather than panicking over formula prices that rival fine wine, a frazzled parent grabs WIC support and keeps their baby fed and their wallet breathing. 19. Folks assume 3D printers and maker tools belong only to rich hobbyists with secret futuristic garages. Outdated myth, gloriously wrong. Public library innovation labs offer free access to 3D printers, makerspaces, and gadgets that sound wildly expensive, yet cost you nothing. You design, print, and build random brilliant creations while paying the noble sum of $0. It feels illegal that libraries casually own this technology, yet they proudly hand it over. So instead of dreaming about owning a printer that costs a paycheck, a curious creator walks into the library and builds the future for free. 20. People assume notary services always cost money and require hunting down some mysterious official with a magic stamp. Annoying myth, happily false. Military bases and several federal credit unions provide free notary services, stamping your important documents without charging the usual sneaky fee. You get signatures legitimized without paying a stranger to press ink on paper. It costs nothing, which feels almost too easy for something that sounds so official. So rather than wandering around town hunting a paid notary, a prepared person strolls in, gets the stamp, and walks out with legally blessed paperwork for free. 21. People assume cleaning up after a disaster means personally hauling away a mountain of soggy debris alone forever. Exhausting myth, completely false. After a federally declared disaster, the government provides free debris removal, sending crews to clear the wreckage so survivors do not face it with one sad wheelbarrow. They haul away the destruction without handing you a brutal bill afterward. It costs nothing, which feels merciful during an already nightmarish situation. So instead of fighting a literal pile of ruined everything alone, a recovering family gets professional cleanup for free and finally sees their property again. 22. Job seekers assume professional headshots require an expensive photographer who treats one photo like a fine art masterpiece. Vain myth, surprisingly false. Federal career fairs often offer free LinkedIn photos and headshot sessions, polishing your professional image without draining your job hunting budget. You walk away looking employable while paying the dignified amount of $0. It feels too convenient for something that normally costs a small fortune downtown. So rather than using a blurry selfie cropped from a cousin's wedding, a clever applicant scores a crisp free headshot and finally looks like someone worth hiring. 23. Parents assume kids' dental care costs enough to fund a small dental empire of its own. Painful myth, thankfully false. Medicaid and CHIP provide free dental care for children, meaning checkups, cleanings, and cavity battles happen without parents financing a yacht for the dentist. Qualifying kids get their teeth handled while the family pays absolutely nothing. It feels suspicious because dentistry and free rarely shake hands, yet this program exists proudly. So instead of dreading a bill that rivals a mortgage payment, a relieved parent gets their kid's smile fixed and keeps their savings intact. 24. Elderly homeowners assume fixing a crumbling house requires money they simply do not have lying around. Heavy myth, gloriously wrong. USDA Rural Development offers free home repairs for elderly and disabled homeowners, patching roofs and dangers without demanding a fortune in return. Crews handle the work while the homeowner pays nothing, keeping them safe in the place they love. It feels like a rare slice of pure kindness from a giant bureaucracy. So rather than living with a collapsing porch and crossed fingers, a grateful homeowner gets real repairs done for free and finally stops dodging that broken step. 25. Students assume college application fees are an unavoidable toll designed to punish dreaming while broke. Cruel myth, beautifully false. Low-income students qualify for free application fee waivers, letting them apply to colleges without those sneaky charges stacking up like a financial ambush. They chase their future without paying just to ask a school to consider them. It costs nothing, which removes a quietly brutal barrier for ambitious kids. So instead of skipping dream schools over a pile of fees, a determined student applies everywhere for free and lets the acceptance letters fight it out. 26. Victims of identity theft assume recovery means hiring expensive experts to chase ghosts through bureaucratic nightmares. Stressful myth, refreshingly false. The FTC provides free identity theft recovery assistance, guiding victims through reclaiming their stolen life without charging for the rescue. They build recovery plans and official paperwork while you pay absolutely nothing. It feels strangely comforting that real help exists when a stranger is out there pretending to be you. So rather than panicking alone while some crook ruins your credit, a victim gets a free government roadmap and starts hunting down their stolen identity properly. 27. People assume language help at federal agencies costs money or simply does not exist for them. Discouraging myth, completely false. Federal agencies provide free translation and interpreter services, so nobody gets lost in paperwork purgatory over a language barrier. Trained interpreters step in and make everything understandable without charging a confusing fee on top of confusing forms. It costs nothing, which feels like basic decency finally showing up. So instead of nodding blankly through important government business, a person gets clear communication for free and actually understands what they are signing for once. 28. Homeowners assume smoke detectors are just another annoying expense they keep forgetting to buy. Dangerous myth, happily false. Local fire departments funded by federal grants install free smoke detectors, literally showing up to protect your house without billing you for survival. Firefighters mount the devices and test them while you pay the heroic amount of $0. It feels almost too kind that someone hands out life-saving gadgets for free. So rather than ignoring that dead beeping detector for another year, a homeowner gets fresh ones installed at no cost and sleeps slightly less flammably. 29. People assume wheelchair ramps and home accessibility upgrades cost a terrifying fortune nobody casually has. Limiting myth, gloriously wrong. State grants provide free wheelchair ramps and accessibility modifications, transforming homes into livable spaces without a brutal price tag attached. Crews build ramps and adjust spaces while the family pays absolutely nothing. It feels like dignity finally getting the funding it deserves. So instead of being trapped by stairs and impossible doorways, a person gains real freedom inside their own home for free and finally moves through it without a daily obstacle course. 30. People assume getting to medical appointments is their own problem, even without a working car nearby. Isolating myth, completely false. Medicaid provides free non-emergency medical transportation, meaning rides to the doctor arrive without anyone begging friends for the 10th favor this month. Qualifying patients get picked up and delivered while paying absolutely nothing. It feels like the system quietly remembered that healthcare requires actually reaching the building. So rather than missing crucial appointments over a missing ride, a patient gets free transportation and finally shows up to the care they desperately needed all along. 31. Rumor says summer camp is a luxury reserved for families with vacation homes and zero budget anxiety. Snobby myth, beautifully false. Federally funded community centers offer free summer camps where kids run wild, make friends, and exhaust themselves productively without parents financing the whole adventure. Children get games, activities, and supervision while the family pays absolutely nothing. It feels suspicious that fun and free coexist, yet here the program proudly stands. So instead of dreading a long summer of bored kids bouncing off the walls, a relieved parent ships them to free camp and reclaims a little sanity. 32. There is this stubborn belief that owning tools means filling a dusty garage with gadgets used exactly once. Wasteful myth, gloriously wrong. Public library tool libraries let you borrow drills, saws, and equipment for free, like a regular library, but with stuff that can technically injure you. You grab the tool, finish the project, and return it without buying a single overpriced gizmo. It costs nothing, which infuriates hardware stores everywhere. So rather than spending $200 on a sander used for one weekend, a clever fixer-upper borrows it free and lets the library store the thing forever. 33. Word on the street claims music lessons cost a fortune and instruments require selling something precious to afford. Dramatic myth, happily false. Some public school district programs offer free music lessons and instrument loans, handing kids trumpets and violins without bankrupting the household. Children learn actual skills, while the family pays the melodic sum of $0. It feels too generous for something that normally costs monthly, yet these programs quietly exist. So instead of crushing a kid's musical dreams over price tags, a supportive parent grabs the free lessons and braces for months of enthusiastic, deeply questionable recorder solos at home. 34. Plenty of pet owners quietly gamble on nature because spaying or neutering sounds wildly expensive. Risky myth, refreshingly false. County health departments hand out free spay and neuter vouchers, fixing your furry chaos machine without emptying your wallet. You schedule the procedure while paying absolutely nothing, sparing the neighborhood from another surprise litter. It costs $0, which delights everyone except possibly the cat. So rather than gambling on accidental kittens multiplying like a furry math problem, a responsible owner uses the free voucher and keeps the pet population gloriously under control. 35. A discouraging rumor insists earning a GED demands expensive classes and testing fees built to scare people off. Defeating myth, completely false. Adult education programs provide free GED testing and prep classes, helping people earn the credential without paying just for the chance to improve their lives. Instructors teach, support, and prepare you while charging absolutely nothing. It feels like the system finally rooting for a comeback story. So instead of giving up over fees stacked against ambition, a determined adult studies for free, passes the test, and waves that diploma like the hard-earned victory it absolutely is. 36. Grieving families often brace for a military funeral and burial plot to cost a fortune during the worst possible week. Heavy myth, thankfully false. The VA provides free military funeral honors and burial plots in national cemeteries, ensuring veterans rest with dignity without their families drowning in expenses. The service includes honors, ceremony, and a final resting place while the family pays absolutely nothing. It feels like a rare moment of the country quietly keeping a promise. So instead of facing crushing costs alongside crushing grief, a grieving family receives a respectful free farewell, honoring the service that earned 37. Many working parents secretly fear childcare will devour their entire paycheck and then circle back for seconds. Brutal myth, gloriously false. Childcare subsidies help low-income working parents cover the bill, so going to work does not somehow cost more than staying home. Qualifying families get real financial help while the kids stay safely supervised. It feels almost impossible that working becomes worth it again, yet the program exists. So rather than crying over daycare prices that rival rent, a relieved parent uses the subsidies, keeps their job, and stops doing depressing math at the kitchen table every single month. 38. Some folks treat weather radios as pointless junk nobody needs until the sky suddenly turns terrifying. Foolish myth, completely false. In some regions, NOAA distributes free severe weather alert radios, blasting life-saving warnings before disaster crashes the party uninvited. You get early alerts about tornadoes and storms while paying absolutely nothing for the device. It costs $0, which feels generous for something that literally helps keep you alive. So instead of finding out about a tornado from a panicked neighbor, a prepared household hears the free radio scream first and actually has time to take cover properly. 39. There is a painful belief that legally changing your name after escaping abuse costs money and endless scary paperwork. Discouraging myth, refreshingly false. Free legal name change assistance helps survivors reclaim a safe identity without paying for the privilege of escaping danger. Advocates guide the entire process while the survivor pays absolutely nothing. It feels like the system finally standing on the right side of someone's fresh start. So instead of staying trapped under a name connected to fear, a survivor gets free legal help, claims a new identity, and steps into a safer chapter on their own terms. 40. College kids brace every semester for textbooks to cost a kidney and a chunk of their remaining dignity. Painful myth, beautifully false. Public university library reserves offer free textbook rentals, letting students borrow the exact overpriced books publishers pray they buy. You read, study, and return them while paying absolutely nothing for academic survival. It costs $0, which terrifies every textbook company, charging $300 for slightly updated page numbers. So rather than selling plasma to afford one chemistry book, a savvy student borrows it free and laughs at the bookstore from a safe financial distance. 41. Somewhere out there sits money with your name on it, and most people never even glance at it. Wild myth that it is hard to find, totally false. State Treasury databases let you claim unclaimed money for free, hunting down forgotten paychecks, deposits, and refunds the universe quietly owes you. You search, claim, and collect while paying absolutely nothing. It feels like a scam precisely because it is gloriously real. So instead of leaving cash rotting in some government vault forever, a curious person checks the free database and occasionally discovers a delightful surprise payday they completely forgot existed. 42. Folks picture eviction as a sudden doom that strikes with zero warning and zero options. Hopeless myth, refreshingly false. Free rental assistance programs step in before eviction even happens, covering overdue rent so families never reach the curb in the first place. Qualifying households get the help while paying absolutely nothing toward the rescue. It feels almost too proactive for a government program, yet it genuinely exists. So rather than waiting for disaster to kick down the door, a struggling renter grabs early assistance, settles the balance, and keeps their home without the whole dramatic courtroom showdown. 43. Seniors often brace for bus and train fares to slowly nibble away their fixed income forever. Tiring myth, happily false. Local transit authorities offer free transit passes for seniors, letting them roll around town without feeding quarters into the endless transportation machine. Older riders hop aboard while paying absolutely nothing for the ride. It costs $0, which feels like a small thank you for decades of paying fares already. So instead of skipping outings to save a couple bucks, a free-riding senior cruises to appointments, errands, and adventures without their wallet ever leaving their pocket. 44. Everyone treats checking their credit report like an expensive chore reserved for people buying houses. Outdated myth, completely false. All three credit bureaus must hand over free annual credit reports, letting you snoop on your own financial history without paying a sneaky fee. You review every line for errors and sketchy surprises while paying absolutely nothing. It costs $0, which frustrates the companies hoping you forget this right exists. So instead of blindly trusting your credit is fine, a sharp person pulls the free reports, spots the mistakes, and catches any creeping fraud before it explodes. 45. Navigating immigration paperwork feels like a maze that only expensive lawyers can possibly solve. Intimidating myth, refreshingly false. Non-profit accredited representatives offer free immigration legal help, guiding people through the terrifying forms without charging the fortune everyone expects. Trained advocates handle the process while you pay absolutely nothing for real legitimate guidance. It feels suspicious because immigration and affordable rarely share a sentence, yet this help genuinely exists. So instead of gambling with a shady notario or pricey attorney, a hopeful applicant gets trustworthy free assistance and faces the paperwork with someone actually qualified beside them. 46. Sticker shock at the pharmacy convinces people that expensive medications are simply a fixed punishment forever. Bleak myth, gloriously false. Pharmaceutical patient assistance programs provide free prescription drugs to qualifying patients, handing over the exact medicine that normally costs a small fortune. You apply, qualify, and receive the prescriptions while paying absolutely nothing. It feels deeply ironic that drug companies themselves run these programs, Yet here they are. So instead of rationing pills or skipping doses to save money, a struggling patient taps into free assistance and finally takes the medication exactly the way the doctor intended. 47. In states demanding ID to vote, people assume the card itself will cost them money. Sneaky myth, completely false. States require voter ID must offer free state-issued voter ID cards, removing the cost barrier that would otherwise quietly block ballots. You request the card and receive it while paying absolutely nothing for the right you already have. It costs $0, which matters because charging for voting access gets legally awkward fast. So instead of skipping an election over a fee, an eligible voter grabs the free ID, shows up confidently, and casts the ballot nobody can turn away. 48. Worried about lead in your water? Most people figure testing costs a fortune through some fancy lab. Scary myth, happily false. EPA-funded programs offer free home water testing for lead, checking exactly what flows from your faucet without charging for peace of mind. You collect a sample, send it in, and get answers while paying absolutely nothing. It costs $0, which feels reassuring when the stakes involve your family literally drinking the stuff. So instead of nervously guessing whether your pipes are poisoning anyone, a cautious household tests for free and finally knows the truth about their tap. 49. Saving for college sounds impossible when you are broke the very second your kid is born. Defeating myth, beautifully false. State baby bond programs plant free college saving seed money for eligible children, quietly growing a future fund before the kid can even walk. The state contributes while the family pays absolutely nothing toward the head start. It feels almost futuristic that babies get investment accounts now, yet these programs are spreading. So instead of panicking about tuition decades away, a hopeful parent watches free seed money grow and gives their newborn a financial running start. So there you have it, 49 free services just sitting there while half the country swears the government has never done a single nice thing in its life. Turns out the most expensive thing you own is not claiming the free stuff you already paid for with your taxes. If this video saved you money, or at least made you laugh at your own confusion, smash that like button, subscribe to BrainFumble, and flip on those notifications so you never miss the next pile of free chaos. Share it with that one friend who complains about everything. Now tell me down in the comments, which one of these 49 had you yelling "wait" that is actually free at your screen?